Hi, I'm Colette Mason and welcome to this short guide on how to write your own professional non-fiction book the quick and easy way. Let's make a start. We'll cover this simple process. Define your book idea, develop your idea, write your book, review your writing, release your book. In this step, I want you to consider your knowledge and experience. You probably have a handful of ideas that you could turn into books, and I want you to think about which one will interest you most. During the research phase, if you can feel yourself tiring of your topic, that should set off alarm bells. If you can feel your excitement building during the research, then that's a great sign you've made a good choice. Make the most of your personality, your life story and experiences, your tone of voice, and way of describing something. It's a great way to make your book different. In real life, you use body language and intonation for emphasis. You can speak slowly or quickly, loudly or quietly. You can demonstrate a process with hand gestures. You can lean forward and whisper to share a secret. Shh. With your book, you only have pages, pictures, and paragraphs to convey your information. That's why bringing your personality into your writing is so important. Don't put yourself on a pedestal and end up with a dry, authoritarian tone. You can easily avoid this by writing using the same words and turns of phrase that you use when speaking face-to-face with someone, adding feature boxes with attention-grabbing anecdotes, injecting a little humour with some light-hearted snippets or cartoons about your trials and tribulations as you mastered your subject. This adds warmth to your book. People get to discover more about the real you. Remember, your book isn't all about you. It's also about your readers. Think about readers' needs during this definition phase. Readers' needs are the things that your readers want to know and the goals that they have. You can define them by using the following phrase. As a type of person, I need to know or be able to do something so that I can get a useful result. Here's an example. As a vegetable gardener, I need to know how to prepare the soil so that I can grow a bumper crop of vegetables at the end of the season. Think about who your readers are, what they want to know, and why it matters. That way you can make sure you write a book that is valuable for them. You stay on track and don't ramble, and you get the credibility boost that you deserve from your book. Have a look at other best-selling books, how they described and laid out their information to meet readers' needs. How did they organise information? What is the sequence followed? What level of depth did they go to? Did they use pictures to explain particular points, or did they rely on words? Did they provide any quizzes or templates, forms or exercises to help the reader feel confident that they are mastering the topic and making good progress? Once you've made your assessment of your abilities and interests, your readers' needs, a selection of successful books on your topic, and how to bring it alive using your personality and experiences, you have everything you need to come up with your unique idea, your take on this subject. That's how you make your book different. Let's move on to development. After researching, you'll have a good idea about what you could, should, might, or will put in your book. Now it's time to tighten that up and create a great book outline. We'll start that process by listing the reader's needs you plan to meet. There will be an overall high-level reader need. This covers the main purpose of your book. Each chapter should meet a lower-level reader need. Remember, you're telling them something to give them a useful result in every single chapter of your book. If you have the time, I recommend you create a need for each key point you plan to include too. This means you can always see your information through your typical reader's eyes and make sure they'll find value in it. This is a simple but effective insurance policy to help you write a fantastic book that's a credit to your name. Why? You've probably been to a party and stood next to someone who droned on and on about something that they were interested in. And remember how you felt bored, frustrated, trapped, desperately looking for an opportunity to politely escape that pompous windbag. The crashing bore simply has no interest in what mattered to you, only what mattered to them. The same thing applies to tedious vanity project books that were merely published to boost the author's ego. By focusing on meeting your reader's needs, you avoid crashing bore syndrome befalling on your book. Instead, you have your readers hanging on your every word, enthralled and eager to learn. With your readers' needs defined, you can now plan how you will meet them with your take on your subject. This will become your book outline, ready to expand upon. The quickest and easiest way to define your outline is to create a mind map. A mind map is a graphical way to represent ideas and concepts. It's a visual thinking tool that helps you analyse and structure information. Its power lies in its simplicity. You can create mind maps for free using a fantastic website, www.mind42.com. Alternatively, you can use a pen and paper. Start in the middle of a blank page or screen and add your main reader need topic. Include the related subtopics around this central theme in a logical sequence, connecting each one of them to the centre with a line. Repeat the process for the subtopics, generating lower level details as you see fit, connecting them to their parent topic too. Analyse your outline's scope and sequence, and check it's logical, complete, and meets specific reader needs. Make any adjustments as necessary, and double check it's error-free. The best thing about using this free website is you can drag, drop, cut, copy and paste your ideas as you refine them. It's very flexible, When you're happy with it, you can export your map as a document with text in it. This document has all the headings as placeholders, ready for you to expand upon. It's a brilliant time-saving technique for writing your book. You can export it in diagram format too, which is a handy reference guide as you write. To make sure your idea is fit for purpose, you need to get feedback on your book's mind map from other people, ideally people in your target market. They are best placed to tell you how well your outline meets their needs. Armed with this information, you can fix any problems with your outline before you expand upon it. Show your reviewers your mind map and get some feedback on the sequence and scope of your outline. Is there anything they feel is missing from your outline that needs adding in? Or is there anything that needs removing because it's perhaps too basic or too advanced? Assess your responses and amend your mind map based on the improvements that need making. This technique is a major time saver for you both in the writing and reviewing phases. You'll avoid mountains of rework. You can save a lot of pain writing irrelevant information that ultimately gets deleted during the editing phase when your book needs tightening up in order to increase its reader appeal. The feedback check also gives you confidence and peace of mind that what you're including in the book is of genuine value to your target audience, complete and worth expanding upon. This guarantees you will use your free time effectively and create a well-received book up to your professional standards and worthy of your name on the front cover. It's important to spend some time getting your outline right. A few hours spent up front perfecting your plan will avoid long days of stress, disappointment, frustration and worry trying to fix it later on. Once your mind map and outline is complete, you need to add that to your book template ready for you to expand upon it in the writing phase. Many first-time authors worry about their standard of written English. Perhaps you were one of those people who had a bad experience at school with endless criticism from teachers. I know I had many stinging comments about my English over the years. Perhaps in your professional career, people have made negative comments about your longer written reports. This can make people question their ability to write. Others worry that they'll write too slowly. They feel getting their ideas on paper will simply take too long. Don't let these two potential issues hold you back. Here's how to solve them. The simplest way to improve the quality of your writing is to learn 14 plain English rules. I'll give you an example of two of the most important, which I know make the biggest difference in people's writing. Always write using short sentences and always use short words. When authors follow these two rules, their writing becomes clear and concise and a joy to read. The book's quality and reader value dramatically improves. The beauty of this approach is that these rules are quick and easy for anyone to learn and apply. Get into the habit of checking the word count of your sentences. Look for words with 3 or more syllables and replace them with a shorter equivalent. You can use your word processor to get the word count of a sentence. Select it by clicking and dragging your mouse over the text. The status bar at the bottom of the screen gives you the total. You'll find using short words and sentences quickly becomes your natural writing style. You'll use them on autopilot. People who persist in using long words and sentences come unstuck during the review. Reviewers complain that the explanations are clumsy and confusing. Every single sentence needs swapping out for its shorter, conciser counterpart. This is slow, painstaking work, often done by a skilled professional editor. This means the inconvenience of easily avoidable delays and expense. Make sure you have writing with short words and short sentences nailed before you start expanding on your outline. All 14 plain English rules improve the readability of your writing. You may be surprised to discover that the average reading age of adults in the UK or the US is roughly 13 years old, not 21. You need to make sure that your writing is suitable for the average reading age. This doesn't mean dumbing down your information, it means making it clear and simple. You don't want your ideas to be exhausting to understand. If your reader feels like they're wading through insurance small print, they won't thank you for it. Instead, they'll write a stinging negative review. You want your concepts to be quick and easy for your readers to enjoy. You can test how readable your writing is and the required reading age to understand it. Simply go to another free website called www.readable.com, and there's a hyphen in the middle of readable. Take a photograph of your text and simply paste it into the big form field on the website. It will assess it in seconds and give you the required reading age. Double check your writing meets the 13-year-old level. The check will also give you useful statistics like the total number of sentences, the sentence length, and word complexity. This will quickly show you if your sentence and/or word length is bumping up the reading age. It's okay to have a few sentences where the reading age is higher than the average, but the standard you're aiming for must be 13 years old. Did you know the fiction writer with the most readable text is the respected Ernest Hemingway? And Tim Ferriss is one of the best non-fiction writers who has the lowest reading age, yet still has a best-selling series of books to his name. When readers pick up your printed book, they will skim a paragraph or two to see how it reads. If that sample is clunky and difficult to get to grips with, they'll put your book straight back down and you'll lose the sale. Clearly an outcome any author worth their salt should avoid at all costs. For speeding up your writing, the trick here is to use a technique called drafting. When you draft, the goal is to get the ideas out of your head quickly. Explain the background to your outline's bullet points using short words and short sentences, and get the gist of your elaboration down on paper. Not everything needs to be perfect at this stage. Just a reasonable explanation of your point is fine. You'll find the bulk of your writing will tend to be acceptable as it is, but occasionally you might hit something that needs tweaking. you might feel tempted to start swapping your words for better alternatives. Perhaps you want to stop and research some facts and figures you plan to include, which you now feel could be inaccurate. Resist the temptation to stop drafting and be sidetracked solving the problem there and then. You lose momentum. Just add a comment that you need to return to that item and keep going. I recommend you come back to these minor issues at the end of your daily writing session or at the end of a chapter, whichever you prefer. It's more efficient. Imagine how much more productive it is to get into a rhythm researching 10 facts and figures in one go at the end of your chapter. The alternative is stopping to do each one as it crops up, losing momentum, and then fighting to get back in the zone to carry on drafting. If you're always stopping or getting sidetracked swapping bits in and out, your progress is slow and it knocks your confidence, and you quickly end up in a bad place. Anger and frustration builds. Slow, arduous progress and self-doubt mean the death knell for author dreams. Just keep going, keep drafting. Trust me, it's the easiest way to go about getting your book completed. Concentrate on getting the basic gist down as quickly as you can. Aim to write the equivalent of 2 to 3 sides of A4 or letter paper a day. This equates to roughly 1,500 words. Within 20 to 25 days, you'll have enough for a 30 to 40,000 word book. It's really that simple. There's no need to feel overwhelmed. If 1,500 words a day still sounds like a lot, let me show you why it isn't. It's merely the equivalent of 5 emails with a handful of short paragraphs a day. If you're a social media addict, it's around 30 short status updates. In reality, you write this much during a typical day without feeling crushed or overwhelmed at the thought of the effort required. 1,500 words is easy to achieve when you're simply expanding on your book outline key points, a topic you already understand well. You'll need to plan and source any visual elements you want to include in your book. These could be photographs, flowcharts, data tables, charts, annotated diagrams, icons to denote tips and warnings, perhaps cartoons to add a little humour to your book. Remember the old saying, a picture paints 1,000 words. A well-chosen picture can profoundly improve the clarity of your explanation for your reader. You'll recall we looked at this requirement during the define phase when you looked how best-selling books use imagery to good effect. If you don't have exactly the right image to hand, add a rectangle to your book as a placeholder and add it to the list of images you need to source. You can get someone to help you with that if arty things are not your scene. Once you've expanded on your entire outline, you'll be the proud owner of a completed draft book. Now it's time to move on to review. At this stage, you will give your draft a health check. It should be in reasonable shape already. However, even if you've been fixing minor issues at the end of your writing sessions or at the end of chapters, a second check still makes sense. Look out for simple things. For example, make sure you've expanded on all your bullet points. You can sometimes overlook some of the lower level subheadings because the heading style is almost the same size of font to normal paragraph text. It doesn't stand out as much as a main heading might. Also check you picked up on all the drafting issues, just in case you missed any when you were doing your interim checks. Your draft manuscript doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need an exhaustive proofread. A quick review with your spell checker will do. There might be some minor formatting issues. Don't worry, it's not a deal breaker at this stage. It'll be picked up later. Just make sure your draft looks like it has had some checking before you send it to your reviewers. It shows you respect their time. If the draft you send them is riddled with simple mistakes, you will annoy them and lose their vital support for your book project. If you look like you don't care about the quality of your information, why should they? Make sure you tell your reviewers you want high-level feedback on the book concept overall. To get the most out of the review process, I recommend you give each reviewer a simple form to complete. This means you can have more control over the feedback you receive and how it's structured. Ask them to give opinions on your book's content, specifically the overall sequence and scope, the clarity of your explanations, the quality of supporting information, for example, quizzes, forms, templates, images, anything that needs removing, anything that needs reworking, and anything that needs adding in. If you don't brief them about what you want, you'll find you simply get proofreading feedback. Unfortunately, this won't highlight any weaknesses in your book's structure that undermine its ability to meet readers' needs. As well as spotting weaknesses, ask your reviewers to highlight anything they particularly liked. This is good source material for your book promotion strategy later on. For example, you can add glowing review quotes to your press pack, especially when they are from well-respected people within your industry. It's also a brilliant confidence booster reading compliments about your book. If you're worried about being judged harshly once your ideas are out in public for all to see, some encouraging words at this stage are very helpful. Once all your reviewers have given their feedback, gather the responses together and look for common patterns. Analyse it for frequent complaints. Everyone felt the diagram annotation text was too small and fuzzy. Everyone felt the book title was ambiguous and didn't match the book content that they read. These are red flags and they need fixing. If one person spots something and no one else does, this means one of two things. The first thing could be that the person is very astute and has spotted a fundamental issue that no one else appreciated, not even you, in which case fix it. Alternatively, that comment might just be personal opinion. I'll give you an example. This feedback is like saying, I don't like coffee, I prefer to drink tea, take all the coffee references out of the book. It doesn't mean there's no value in a cup of coffee just because one person doesn't like it. It's merely personal preference. Plenty of other people enjoy coffee, so it's okay to leave it in. Make sure any changes will lead to real improvements. Create a list that explains what the problem is, where it happened in the book, and how you will fix it. If you're not sure how to fix a problem, have a look at some competitor books for some ideas and suggest alternatives for your reviewers to consider. Systematically work your way through the list, resolve each issue and mark it as complete. That way you can make sure your book is in great shape to take it on to the next stage, release. This is where the dreaded proofreading kicks in. If you're like me, you're probably not terribly fond of proofreading. I'm afraid the bad news is you can't avoid it. It has to happen at this stage. Once your draft is stable and you've made all the changes to make your draft as good as it can be, it's time to make sure it's perfect. Keep it simple and check for one problem in turn. For example, do a run through looking for punctuation errors, then spelling errors, then factual errors. For example, every data chart quotes the correct source for the statistics. Consistency errors. For example, do all your abbreviations have dots after the letters or not? They need to be consistent throughout. Try not to read your text. You'll skim and miss errors. Avoid skimming by reading in reverse. Start at the last word on a page and work back to the first. Next, double-check the formatting and make sure that's perfect too. Perfect formatting means it's consistently applied throughout the book. The material is easy to read. Headings are always directly above their associated explanatory text and not left separate at the bottom of a page. There is no misaligned information like wide tables falling off the end of the page. All your bullet points indent the correct levels and have the right shape or numbering sequence assigned to each level. All your captions that accompany your images or tables appear in the same place, either above or below, and are all aligned the same way. The secret to this check is to focus on consistency and be eagle-eyed. It's like the biggest game of spot the difference you've ever played in your life. You must spot any formatting differences that occur on any of your pages throughout your whole book and then correct them. Once you've proofread and formatted your book, give it another light check. Make sure nothing untoward happened during your formatting. For example, you might have selected a word intending to make it bold, but accidentally deleted or overwrote the selection instead. You'll need to do some visualisation at this point to imagine how your final book will look. Checking it on screen is never quite the same as checking a physical printed copy in front of you. Consider printing out your final draft and checking that, but remember it's likely the paper size will be different, so there will be large margins around each book-sized page. It's more difficult to turn these home printed pages over compared with a physical book, and you can lose the flow a little bit and lose the pace of your writing. A printout is helpful, it's just not quite the same, but do the best you can. The next step is to get your proof copy published. I recommend that you have one copy published to start with and thoroughly check that. You might have seen you can have business cards, mugs or t-shirts printed online. There are companies offering book printing too. You'll need to upload your book in Word or PDF format. You'll also need to upload your cover art. If you haven't had a graphic designer create a cover, you can use the printer's cover design tool. Check out lulu.com and createspace.com for getting a print done. I recommend you have a professional cover designed. People do judge books by their covers. Don't undermine your efforts with a lacklustre design. Check your proof copy is of a good enough standard to go out there with your name on it. If any lingering issues have slipped through the net, don't beat yourself up. Relax, take your time and fix them. Then order another proof copy. With print-on-demand publishers, you don't have to order a massive run of 500 copies and have them living under the stairs for a long time. The cost of getting one copy printed is very reasonable, around £3 or $5 plus shipping. Once you're happy with your proof copy, I recommend you order perhaps 20 or 30 copies each time, just to keep postage costs down. The difference between getting one copy shipped on express delivery and posting 20 on regular delivery is minimal. Once you have access to printed copies of your book, you need to promote it. The easiest way to do that is to create a promotional pack. Share this tool with other people such as journalists to get your book message out there. Your pack includes useful information like your author biography, which explains about your expertise and background, why you wrote the book, and how it helps readers. In addition, include book synopses or summaries, so it's easy for others to explain the benefits of your book to their audience. You could gather a list of powerful tips from your book into a short document, a fact sheet. These tips can be quickly turned into features by someone else. In return, they tell their readers, podcast listeners, or video viewers where they can buy your book and find out more. It saves these people the hassle of creating fresh content for themselves. These are just a few ways that you can use your press pack to promote you and your book in a professional way. Let's have a quick recap. The define process is your research and discovery phase where you work out a book topic that will interest you and benefit your readers. How to add in your personality and teaching style to good effect. What readers need to know. How other bestsellers met those reader needs. And how to analyse all those factors and come up with your unique take. Then we create the book outline, which I call the alpha version of your book. This is the smallest, most minimal version of what you plan to cover. Get some feedback on this alpha version and make sure it's heading in the right direction. Your outline also gives you a set of easy milestones to aim for. It breaks down the task of writing your book into bite-sized chunks, which kills off those feelings of overwhelm. You're expanding on a few bullet points a day. Simple. Your completed outline becomes the first draft of your book, the beta version. All your ideas are out of your head and on the page as your expanded book outline. Then comes the review, which you kick off by giving your draft a quick health check. Make sure it's in a suitable condition to pass on to your reviewers. Try to choose reviewers who are also your target readers. Your reviewers complete a review form, which gives you some high-level feedback on the quality of your information, and check there are no underlying mistakes in your approach. You assess their feedback and decide on a list of improvements to make to guarantee that all reader needs are met. Your final draft is then complete. Once you're confident your draft is stable, it's time to make sure there are no proofreading or formatting mistakes remaining. Then you order your printed proof, also known as your galley copy. Check you have a perfect printed copy, and then you can begin your launch. Launch your book by creating a promotional press pack and liaise with journalists, podcasters, bloggers, and potential business partners. These people help you get the word out about your book. They explain why it's a good read and where their audiences can pick up a copy. This publicity provides a big boost to your credibility. The good news is, when you've completed this stage, you're a published author. You've made it to the finishing line of the training video. All you need to do now is take action, follow the advice, and get to the finishing line of writing your book. I wish you all the success with your book project. Writing a good quality professional book is a fantastic feeling and opens up fantastic opportunities. I can't wait for you to know what this feels like firsthand. Please let me know your success stories. I love hearing about them. Bye for now from me, Colette Mason, and thanks very much again for taking part in the 30-day book challenge.